Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Before I continue, could you all utilize the chat function, letting me know that you are able to hear me okay? Perfect. Thank you so much, Raina. I want to welcome all of you to tonight's session on how to afford your Doctor of Pharmacy how to afford your Doctor of Pharmacy education. And so I will be leading this session. My name is Melissa Ruggiero, and I am your admissions counselor. So I know I've been in contact with all of you. Our financial aid counselor is not on this session tonight, but I am well informed on the subject to be able to provide you with all the details you're looking for. I will be providing his contact details as well at the end of the session. You are welcome to reach out to James Caesar if there are any additional questions I am unable to answer. However, we will be leaving time at the end of this session to answer any questions you may have. So I will feel free to utilize the chat function as questions may come up, but I will be happy to answer those questions at the end of tonight's session. We'll have time for a question and answer. So to start off, I'm going to begin tonight's session providing you with a brief overview of Regis University as a whole and our mission. I know some of you are well aware of Regis University. Others of you may be beginning your process of exploring pharmacy school. So I'll do a brief overview of Regis. We'll then talk about your total investment, and then we'll lead into what those financing options are to help finance your Doctor of Pharmacy education. I'll then talk about the financial aid process and what you need to do to go ahead and apply for the FAFSA to be considered for financial aid. And then lastly, I'll talk about what your next steps should look like depending on where you are in the cycle of beginning your pharmacy education. So a little bit about Regis University as a whole. Regis University was founded in 1877. We are a private nonprofit Jesuit university. We are one of 28 Jesuit universities. So other Jesuit schools may include Boston College, Creighton, Xavier, the four Loyola universities, among others. Regis University School of Pharmacy is one of two Jesuit universities. The other one is Creighton University in Nebraska. And in being a Jesuit university, what that means is we are a division of the Catholic faith. You don't need to be Catholic or religious to come to Regis, but we embody many of the values that the group of Jesuits value who had founded Regis University among a number of other universities. So being in a Jesuit university, we exemplify the 500-year-old Jesuit tradition of academic rigor, intellectual exchange, and faculty commitment to each student's individual success and personal development. And some of those values that fall within a Jesuit education include magis, which is striving for excellence, cura personalis, which is Latin for care for the whole person, and men and women in service of others. So we put a large emphasis on caring for and serving populations different from your own and helping to develop more well-rounded health practitioners. So Regis University has been ranked as a top university in the West for 20 consecutive years, and that is by U.S. News and World Report. I want to just point out that Regis University is made up of 5 separate colleges. I am here to represent Rickard Hartman. That's our College of Health Professionals, and our School of Pharmacy is housed within the College of Health Professionals. Additionally, we have Regis College, which is our traditional college population made up of our undergraduate students coming straight from high school and working towards a bachelor's degree. We also have a number of online and evening programs, and those fall within our College of Business and Economics, our College of Computer and Information Sciences, and our College of Contemporary and Liberal Studies. So what you see here just further emphasizes our mission, which is the mission of our School of Pharmacy, but also the mission of Regis University as a whole, and that is to educate men and women to become exceptionally and socially responsible pharmacists. We commit to the Jesuit tradition of value-centered education, focusing on personal development and leadership in the service of others, including those that are underserved. So through our commitment to team-based education, we are developing knowledgeable, skillful, and principled practitioners. Our learners excel in critical thinking and communication skills, and they are very much prepared to improve and transform the healthcare in the global community. So just a little bit more about our School of Pharmacy. Here you see some statistics of our 2017 graduating class. So our NAPLEX pass rate is a 90%. That is our first time pass rate, and that data was provided to us over the summer. So that may not be entirely reflective of that class who has who have taken the NAPLEX, as some had not taken it at that time. Our graduation rate is a 90%, and our residency match rate is a 70%. Over the past 4 years, we have been a 70% or higher, which is above the national average. 30% of our Regis graduates are going on to residency programs, and the national average match rate has been consistently somewhere in the 60% range, and where we have been a 70% or higher. Here you'll also see some employers who have hired our graduates. These are primarily local employers, but our graduates are being employed nationally. Next, I'd like to move into the investment component. So it's when you're considering a Doctor of Pharmacy education, I know some of you have been accepted into our program, will be joining us in the fall. Some of you are still in the application process, but it's really important to take into consideration what your salary is going to look like. So according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median salary of a pharmacist is $122,000. That is not necessarily the entry-level salary, but that's the median salary of pharmacists nationwide. Our graduates are earning $125,000. That is the median salary of our graduates, and that was reported by our most recent graduates from the 2017 class who have been placed in jobs, and that is the average. So as you can see, our graduates are making above the median salary. So that is something you should take into consideration when you are figuring out what your investment looks like, and what you will be making following the completion of your pharmacy degree. And then additionally, we have been, pharmacy as a whole has been rated as the #1 best job in healthcare for 2015, and that is by Forbes. And so that does take into consideration a number of different components, such as safety, stress, your schedule, also been rated as the most trusted healthcare professional as well. Okay, so now we're going to move into your investment. So when you're looking at the cost of your pharmacy education, we'd like to outline all of those costs that you're going to be looking at. It is really important for you to understand that our tuition is very much all inclusive. We base it on a per credit hour cost, and there are few added required fees on top of that per credit hour cost. So our per credit hour cost is $1,095 per credit hour. Our program is a total of 150 credits. So in looking at that per credit hour cost, our total cost of tuition ends up being about $37,000 per year for your first 3 years. It does jump up to about $52,000 in your 4th year. That is simply because you're completing more credits in your 4th year. In your 4th year, you enter your full-time clinical rotation, so you are going year-round. Your first 3 years, you are not going year-round. So that is the reason for that differential in the cost of tuition. Other fees include, we have outlined all the fees here. Not all of these are required fees. So other ones would include a parking fee of $200 per semester. That is optional. Not all students opt into to park on campus. However, should you like to park on campus, it would make sense for you to purchase a parking permit. I know that there are students who may live together in carpool to campus, and they may split the cost of a parking permit. And you can register all of your vehicles under this parking permit, but only one person can park on campus at once. So that would be a good cost saver if you are carpooling to campus with other Regis students. There's a student activity fee of $25 per semester that really gives you access to all of our amenities on campus. So access to all of our buildings, access to the gym, access to all of those services that are available to you as a student, such as our tutoring center, our Center for Career and Professional Development, among others. We have a compliance cost of $22. So that's the purchase of your compliance package. I'm giving you access to our portal that tracks the completion of progress of all compliance items. That's just for your first year. And then there's the cost of $79 for your background check and drug screening. That is a per year cost. Books for our entire program, we do an overestimation about $700 for all 4 years. So that is a pretty reasonable cost. I know a lot of graduate programs books cost a lot more. We attribute that to our team-based learning environment and our integrated curriculum, where there really are not a ton of books, and the books that you are purchasing would be reusing throughout the time in the program. Our students have access to a number of journals and databases. That's where they're getting a lot of the content. Also, our faculty members self-create a lot of the content that are given to our students in the form of reading packets. So that does take the place of books as well. Health insurance is only required for students who do not have their own health insurance. So if you're coming into the program without health insurance, you would be purchasing it through Regis. That is around $3,000 per year. If you have health insurance of your own, you do not need to worry about that cost. And there's a $100 elective course fee. So those are what all of your costs look like. And as you can see, really the core of that cost is your per credit hour cost of $1,095. So in taking into consideration what you're investing in and what those overall costs are, we have also outlined what your living expenses may look like. Do understand that your living expenses can be more or could be less than what is outlined here. These are the expenses that are provided to us for 2017-2018 by the state of Colorado. So room is just under $3,000 per semester, board just over $1,500 per semester, our transportation cost of $740, and then personal expenses of just about $600. So these, of course, may vary, and there are ways to really manage these costs, which I'll talk about in my next slide. And in my financing section, I'm also going to talk about loan options that can help cover some of these living expenses as well. So as some of you live in Denver and are aware of the expansion of Denver. So as you can see, we have been ranked as the #1 best place to live by U.S. News and World Report in 2016. We've also been ranked as the #1 best place for business and careers by Forbes 2015. So Denver is a great place for you to be furthering your education and potentially looking for a job here in Denver after, as there's a lot of opportunities. But additionally, Denver is becoming high in demand for a place to live. So because of that, living expenses may be more than what you are used to where you currently reside. They may be less depending on where you're coming from. So we just like to outline those expenses, but also understanding the benefits of moving to Denver and what you may get out of an education here and looking for a job following the completion of your degree. So far I've outlined what your costs look like, and there are a number of ways to help manage these costs and lessen these costs to make your investment more affordable. There are opportunities for students in our program to work. One of the biggest opportunities is in your first semester, you will earn your intern license. That is a requirement all of our students are going through in order to take part in their clinical rotations. Students typically have their intern license by the middle of their first semester. With this intern license, you can work in a pharmacy like a pharmacy technician. However, you are at a higher pay grade than a pharmacy technician. So I would say about half of our students in the program are working to some capacity that can range from anywhere from about 5 to 20 hours a week. A lot of students that I work with that are currently in the program are working with pharmacies and with under very flexible hours. So they may opt to work every other weekend or one weekend a month and maybe some occasional evenings to just bring in some additional income. And in addition to that, there are other opportunities to work in other capacities as well. You don't necessarily have to work in a community pharmacy. Should you choose to live with roommates, if you're relocating here and you want to opt to live with roommates, that's definitely going to bring down the cost of living. So that's something that I might recommend. There are opportunities to take part in work study. We do have pharmacy students and other graduate students that may do work study opportunities on campus to help bring in some additional personal income as well. And then transportation. So whether you have a car or you're carpooling to campus, that may help. If you live closer to campus and you can ride your bike or walk to campus, you don't need to pay for a parking permit or worry about the cost of having a car. That can help bring down your cost as well. There's also a public transportation. Here at Regis, there's access to bus passes for our students, and we do have a light rail line coming with a new light rail line that's expanding that will have a stop very close to campus. So other things to take into consideration. Okay, so next, what I'm going to review with you is some loan options that are available to you, and these loan options are options that you may be eligible for by being eligible for financial aid. So I'm going to review these three separate loan options for you. The first one is your federal unsubsidized loan, and that is an option to cover tuition and fees. This loan requires a completion of the FAFSA application, which is the free application for federal student aid. For your first 3 years, pharmacy students may receive up to $33,000 per year. In year 4, they may receive up to $37,167, and that is to offset the cost of higher tuition in your 4th year. These federal loans have a current fixed interest rate of 6%. The lifetime limit is $224,000 cumulative. And repayment begins 6 months after graduation or from the last day of attendance. Next, you have your federal direct graduate plus loan, and this is another loan option. Generally, the federal unsubsidized loan does not cover tuition and fees. Therefore, a graduate plus loan can be utilized to cover the difference or unmet cost of tuition and fees. A federal plus loan credit application is required, and the student must not have adverse credit history. A FAFSA application is also required to be considered for the graduate plus loan, and the current fixed interest rate is 7%. Repayment for this loan begins 6 months after graduation or from the last day of attendance, so just like the unsubsidized Stafford loan. One additional note is that federal loans carry an origination fee. The origination fee for the unsubsidized loan is 1.066%, and the origination fee for the graduate plus loan is 4.264%. What this means for you is that for every $1,000 of unsubsidized loans that you borrow, you are charged roughly $11. For every $1,000 of graduate plus loans that you borrow, you are charged roughly $43. And then lastly, another loan option for you are private student loans. These are not federal loans, but they are private. These are going to be credit-based loans, so interest rate can vary, so you must consult with your private lender to inquire on your interest rate. private student loans can be utilized to cover the difference or unmet costs of tuition and fees. Repayment for these loans begins 6 months after graduation or from the last day of attendance. So for your private student loans, it's really up to the student on where they are getting these loans from, but typically be from a credit union or a bank. And I do apologize. I realize I skipped ahead of myself. So I realized that I was ahead of one slide in going through the loan options. So I will give you a second to look through all of this. And I apologize that I went to the loans, and I was supposed to cover the scholarships first. So I'll give you a minute to look through all of these, and I can do a quick recap on all of these for you as well. So the first option is your federal direct unsubsidized Stafford loan. That's typically your initial loan consideration when you are applying for the FAFSA. So hopefully that all makes sense for you. And as I had mentioned, in applying for the federal direct unsubsidized Stafford loan, you can qualify for up to $33,000 for years 1, 2, and 3, and then up to $37,000 for year 4, and that is to offset the higher rate of tuition in your 4th year. And these repayments can be set up and ranging anywhere from about 10 to 25 years following the completion of the program. And then next, additionally, students are going to be applying for the Federal Direct Graduate Plus loan. That is once all scholarship and loan monies have been taken into consideration, something you typically would apply for over the summer when you need additional funding to help take care of any difference in the cost of tuition and fees plus living expenses. So hopefully that all makes sense. I'm going to go back to the previous slide, and I'm going to talk about your scholarship options in this previous slide. So your initial scholarship option is going to be scholarships that are offered from the School of Pharmacy, and these are scholarships that are offered to our incoming class with an admission decision. So we give out $250,000 in scholarships to our incoming class each year. These scholarships are merit-based, so they are scholarships that you do not need to apply for by being considered for admission. You are automatically considered for a scholarship. Should you not be awarded a scholarship with your admission decision, there does not mean that you have been out of the running for a scholarship. We are constantly reevaluating our scholarship pool throughout the application cycle, and we will be awarding scholarships up through the summer of 2018. So we're typically awarding those higher amounts first, and then we move down to our lower amounts. It is a tiered structure where we have separate amounts that are awarded. We start with those higher amounts, then we move down. The maximum amount a student may earn would be up to $25,000 for the entire program. Next, we have our corporate funded scholarships. So these awards are based on merit and financial need. These are scholarships that students will apply for once they are already in our School of Pharmacy and have started classes on campus. So you can be considered for these starting your first semester. In our School of Pharmacy, we have an awards and scholarships committee. And so their role is to go out into the community and find scholarship opportunities for our students. They bring those back to the School of Pharmacy, and students may apply for those. These amounts can vary anywhere from between $1,000 and $3,000. And we give out anywhere from about $40,000 to $45,000 in scholarships to our pharmacy students. And then last, we also, before I move on to the next option that I was going to review is our Colorado Graduate Grant, we also have a number of outside scholarship opportunities. We have a site, it's called The Script. You can go there by going to regispharmd.com, and that is a great resource for all students coming into our program to really get any questions answered about our program. by going to regisfarmd.com, there's going to be 3 sections. The third section is getting ready for classes. If you click on that, there will be an area on scholarships, and we have a list of outside organizations that you may look into that will have a series of scholarships of which you may qualify for. Those are typically scholarships you would need to apply for. So I'm more than happy to follow up with all of you to send you a link to that site so you can start looking into outside opportunities. And then from time to time, we do have internal opportunities that come up, and I'm always sending those out to my group of accepted students to let you know of those opportunities. And then we have the Colorado Graduate Grant. So this is a needs-based grant that anyone who is a resident of the state of Colorado may apply for. You must be a resident for 1 year, and in being a resident for 1 year, you need to show proof of a Colorado driver's license. You also need to be registered to vote in the state of Colorado. So let's say you are coming to Regis next year, but you are not currently a resident. That is okay. You could go ahead and apply by the 2nd year. At that point, you should have a residency of the state of Colorado for 1 year. If you already reside in the state of Colorado, that's wonderful, and you can go ahead and apply. To apply for the Colorado Graduate Grant, you are completing a residency form that is on our website. So that is how you would be considered for that, and that's something that myself or James would send out to you. So that is a needs-based grant. You can qualify for up to $5,000 per year, or $20,000 for the entire program. You do need to reapply for that grant each year. All right, so hopefully that wasn't too confusing with my mix-up between loans and scholarships. I'm happy to answer any uncertainties there may be at the end of the presentation. It doesn't look like I've had any questions come through so far. So I talked a little bit about repayment options. I will just review that for you again. You would be setting up a repayment plan following the completion of your degree. That plan will not start until 6 months upon graduating, or 6 months from your last day of attendance. There are a number of resources that are available to you to get an idea of what your repayments may look like. And you can go to studentloans.gov. That's a great resource for you to use the repayment estimator to have an idea of what you would need to be paying monthly in order to pay off your loans by X date. And those repayment options can be set up anywhere from 10 to 25 years. Following the completion of your Doctor of Pharmacy degree, you would contact your loan servicer to help set up those options. And then there are, of course, options to look into loan forgiveness programs. If you work with certain employers in certain industries, those could be an option for you. Okay, so next I would like to review with you how to go about applying for financial aid. So this slide does a good job kind of showing you what that process will look like. And so in applying for financial aid, what you will need to do is you're going to start with the free application for federal student aid. And your first step will be to create a unique FAFSA ID, and this is needed in order to begin the FAFSA application. The website to create your unique ID is fsaid.ed.gov. So you can see it there on the slide. It's fsaid.ed.gov. You'll go to that site to set up your unique ID. Your next step, you will want to start the FAFSA application by going to the fafsa.ed.gov website. You can begin the FAFSA application starting now, and you will have from now until April 15th. April 15th is not a hard deadline, but it is recommended that you complete the FAFSA by that April 15th date. As I've mentioned, the 2018-2019 FAFSA is currently available. And there are no penalties for completing the FAFSA after April 15th, but I would suggest that you do it by then. On your FAFSA application, you must indicate your school selection. So if you do plan to attend Regis University, you will provide the federal school code for Regis University. That school code is on your slide, and it's 001363. There's also a directory for you to find that school code on the FAFSA application. And filling out the FAFSA, parental information is not required. And so when you are completing the 2018-2019 FAFSA application, you'll be asked to provide your 2016 federal tax information. So you want to make sure that you have copies of your completed tax returns, your W-2s, and any other asset information on hand. Once you receive your financial aid award letter, that awarding cycle will begin in the middle of May, so it can be anywhere from May 15th through June 30th. Additional documents would then be required to finalize your forms. So you would then go through the process of completing your entrance counseling and signing your master promissory note. All of those instructions are outlined for you in your financial aid award letter, which can be accessed through your student portal. So after you have viewed and accepted and finalized your federal unsubsidized loan, this would then be a good time to seek additional loans by applying for a Graduate Plus loan or a private student loan. And you would make this decision after you've taken into consideration any other scholarships, awards that may have been given to you, and as well as whether you've been granted the Colorado Graduate Grant, which I talked about previously. So just to recap, between now and April 15th, you will want to complete the FAFSA. You will then find out your award starting anywhere from May 15th to June 30th. You'll go through the process of accepting your loan amount. You can accept that entire amount or a partial amount. You'll complete your entrance counseling, you'll sign your master promissory note, and then you may seek additional loan options. So next, what I would like to do, and I'm getting towards the end of the presentation, but I'm going to go through and answer some frequently asked questions that we have been asked over the last couple of years. And so hopefully that will take care of any uncertainties there are currently. So the first question, when should you fill out the FAFSA and which tax returns do you use? So the 2018-2019 FAFSA is currently available. You are going to use your 2016 federal tax return information to complete the 2018-2019 FAFSA. Can you use student loans to help pay for your living expenses? The answer is yes. Student loans are an option for not only paying tuition and fees, but also assisting with living expenses. After all tuition and fees are satisfied and paid for by loans, any remaining loan amounts in excess of tuition is what students receive for living expenses. How long after you fill out the FAFSA and loan paperwork will you know your financial aid award letter? After the completion of the FAFSA, students are normally awarded within 1 week. And that is once we have hit the awarding cycle starting in May 15th, going until the end of June. If additional time has passed during that period, please contact the financial aid office for FAFSA status updates. Next, number 4, do you have to reapply for financial aid each year, and what does this entail? It is recommended that you reapply each year by April 15th. As we mentioned previously, this is not a hard date, just a recommendation. If you miss the date, there are no penalties. When are funds dispersed? Federal funds are dispersed typically a week prior to the start of each semester for most semesters. After the disbursement of funds, tuition and fees are paid and a refund check is initiated from the excess of loans. Typically, it takes 7 to 10 business days to receive a refund check by mail. Students have the option to set up direct deposit prior to the disbursement of funds. Direct deposit is a much faster and reliable way to receive a refund. This process can take 3 to 5 business days. So that is what we would recommend for you to set up a direct deposit. And then last, number 6, what are the repayment plan options? There are a number of websites where students have access to estimate repayment. For example, a website such as studentloans.gov will help assist you in estimating your monthly repayment. That is the site that I did reference earlier on in this presentation. So as you can see in the bottom, I do have the contact details for James Caesar. He is the financial aid counselor for all of our pharmacy students. So you may jot down his information. I will be sending out a PDF of this presentation following tonight's session. So all the information you need will be available there. And this does wrap up our presentation for this evening. I plan on staying on for the next couple of minutes, answering any questions that you may have. So please feel free to utilize the chat function to get all of your questions answered. Any questions that I can't answer for you, I will make sure I have an answer and follow up with you later on this week. So once again, I want to thank you for being here tonight. And please feel free to utilize the chat function if you have any questions. You are very welcome. Are there any questions you had, Benjamin? Great, good to hear. Does anyone have any questions that I can answer for you? You're welcome, Ryan. Do you have any questions? I had a great question come through from one of our attendees, so I thought I would share it. The attendee has asked, so with the internship starting first semester, can you start working immediately? When do we get that license? So that's a wonderful question. So your clinical rotations start the second semester of your first year. However, you do go through the process of getting your internship license in your first semester as part of your coursework. Typically, students have that by the middle of their first semester. That being said, you, in the state of Colorado, you can begin working as a pharmacy technician without going through a formal certification program. So you can go through the work on your own to get a job at any point as a pharmacy technician. Whether you're currently here, you can get started on that now, or you can do that over the summer. And then once you have your internship license, you should be able to use that to then be considered a pharmacy intern and get that higher pay grade. However, you will not have that internship license until you start classes. So do keep that in mind, but there are many students that are working that summer before starting in the program. Do we have any other questions? I do see we have a phone number on the line. I didn't get a chance to get your name, so if you are able to, if you could utilize the chat function and just put your name in there so I know who that is on the line. All right, doesn't look like I'm getting any additional questions come through. So I will follow up with all of you. I'll include a PDF of this presentation. I'll include a link to outside scholarship opportunities you can begin looking into, as well as information directing you to the script on financial aid options. But do feel free to reach back out to me with any further questions. I do appreciate you all joining me this evening and taking the time out of your busy evenings to learn more about options for how to afford your doctor of pharmacy education. I hope you found this information beneficial. You're welcome, Amy. Doesn't look like you have any questions.